Literally, communist can be translated to of or for the community, while suffix isme indicates the abstract in a state, condition, action, or doctrines. Doctrines means a set of beliefs held or taught by church, political party, and other groups. Communism can be interpreted as the state of being of or for the community. This semantic constitution has led to a numerous usage of words in the evolution. The term was initially used in designating various social situations. Also, the term ultimately came to be primarily associated with Marxism. The first use of the word in its modern sense is in the letter sent by Victor de Hupay to Restif de la Bretonne way back 1785, when de Hupay described himself as auteur communiste, or we can say communist author. Years later, Restif used the term frequently in his writing, and he was the first to describe communism as a form of government. And lastly, John Godwin Barmby was also credited with the first use of the term in English around 1840. Anyways, if you don't have any idea about Victor, Restif, and John, here's a short description of them. Joseph Alexandre Victor de Hupay was the French writer and philosopher. He known for being among the first writers to use the term communism in his modern sense. He wished to transform the ideals of Enlightenment philosopher into practice. Nicolas Edme Retif, or Nicolas Edme Restif, also known as Retif or Restif de la Bretonne, was a French novelist. The term Retipism, pursuit Reticism, was named after him. John Goodwin Barmby was an English Victorian utopian socialist thinker. He and his wife Catherine Barmby were influential supporters of Robert Owen in late 1830s and early 1840s before moving into the radical Unitarian stream of Christianity in 1840s. And now let's continue to the definition of communism. Communism is a philosophical, social, political, economical ideology and movement whose ultimate goal is the establishment of communist society, namely a socio-economic order structure upon the ideas of the common ownership of the means of product and the absence of social classes, money, and state. Or we can say that communism is a theory or a system of social organization based on holding of all property in common, actual ownership being ascribed to the community as a whole or as a state, and each person works and is paid according to their ability and needs. Again, this is Jeremy Emergio, and thank you for watching.
Hello everyone, I'm here to discuss how communism works in Oceania. After the Russian Revolution in 1917, a conference was held in 1920 to form an Australian Communist Party. By the end of that decade, the Communist Party of Australia was established along the lines of Communist International. The Communist Party of Australia was founded in Sydney on October 30, 1920, by a group of socialists inspired by reports of the Russian Revolution. The CPA criticized the Australian Labor Party and its affiliated trade unions for their failure to adopt a socialist line. The onset of the Cold War in 1945 put communism in Australia under considerable strain. The Stalinist orthodoxy was rejected by many, with the most Communist Party of Australia formed in 1967, and the pro-Soviet Socialist Party of Australia formed in 1971. Stalinism first meant a function in Russian politics. The group of state bureaucrats whose most prominent functional organizer was Stalin, favoring a cautious approach to ensure they maintained their power that meant looking down on any revolutionary adventures that threatened political stability. They systematically cultivated allies in the international communism parties, convincing them that their key task was to support the Russian government. On September 22, 1951, a referendum was held in order to give the government of Robert Menzies the power to ban the Communist Party of Australia. After Simon's death, Party President Hannah Middleton was elected general by the 11th Party National Congress in October 2009. Vinicio Molina succeeded Middleton as party president. Bob Britton was elected General Secretary at the 12th Party Congress in 2013. Bob Britton resigned as General Secretary of the CPA in March 2019. Britton came into conflict with the Central Committee due to ideological differences between himself and others on the Central Committee, being accused of taking a defeatist position. New Zealand Communist Party was formed in 1921 by those who wished to participate actively in the leadership of the workers. From the first, the party endeavored to become affiliated with the Labour Party but was rejected because it would not agree to the Labour Party's constitution. Party members became increasingly active in the trade unions, and during the Second World War, many important unions had communist leaders. During the 1930s, for instance, the party took a lead in supporting the workers in the struggles of the unemployment crisis.
Today I will discuss about communism in Europe, but before that I would like to introduce myself. I am Ayla Janelle or Anya Nuevo. Let's start in 1917, the October Revolution. The Bolsheviks arrived and overthrown the Russian Empire, and the founder of Russian Empire that time is Nikolai II. The Bolsheviks is the first communist government. Sila din yung nag-influence sa China formed a communist party. So what is the Bolsheviks? The Bolsheviks are revolutionaries aimed to set the ideology of Marxism, which is to remove the classless system para yung society mismo yung mag-control ng production as a whole. In-aim din nito na tanggalin yung division between upper to lower class society. In addition, the founder of the Bolsheviks is Vladimir Lenin, and he died in 1924. After that, his general secretary Joseph Stalin hailed as the successor. Under his rule, on, Soviet Union, he industrialized the country through the state-controlled economy and led to famine. Yun. Under Joseph Stalin, andyan yung forced labor and cruelty. After ng cruelty, nagkaroon ng agreement yung Soviet Union and other parts of Eastern Europe. Andyan, Eastern Europe or Eastern Bloc. Kasama dun sa Eastern Bloc is yung mga countries tulad ng Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Poland, Hungary, and Romania. Tinawag nila yung agreement na yun as Warsaw Pact, which is magkakaroon ng military support in other nations if ever na magkaroon ng war. Economic integration of the member state and threat of invasion para ma-assure na magiging communist pa din yung mga member states. Yan. Yan na yung time ng Cold War. Pagkatapos nung naganap na agreement, andyan na yung pagkatapos nung naganap na agreement between Soviet Union and United States of America, ayun nahati yung Europe between capitalists and their allies and versus communist Soviet Union and its allies. Yun din yata yung time na tinawag na Iron Curtains. Tapos noong 1953, Joseph Stalin died because of brain hemorrhage. Yun yata yun. Noong 1953, when Joseph Stalin died, new Soviet leader. There is no Soviet leader, wherein many policies of Stalin's are lifted. There are two reasons why it is lifted. Because of the moral argument, which is mali daw. Mali nga naman yung labor force at constant fear and abuse of power na nangyari noong panahon ni Joseph Stalin. Pangalawa is pragmatic. Nagkaroon ng corruption and oppression dahil kay Stalin. So, corrupt pala si Stalin. Then, 1985, dumating na yung bagong leader na si Mikhail Gorbachev. Dito na rin nagsimula yung downfall ng Soviet Union or yung collapse ng Soviet Union. Mikhail Gorbachev is the first and last leader na nagmula sa Soviet Union. Under niya, nagkaroon ng tinatawag na stagnation. Doon na nga unti-unting nag-collapse yung Soviet Union. Stagnation, may dalawang process noon na tinawag the glasnost and perestroika. Glasnost is the transparency and perestroika is restructuring. Ginawa yun ni Mikhail Gorbachev para ma-reduce yung Communist Party. So, kaya din na-dissolve yung Soviet Union dahil sa decision ni Gorbachev because he allowed election with multi-party system. Yun ang nangyari, the downfall of Soviet Union.
Communism in South Africa. South African Communist Party before is called Communist Party of South Africa. Nabuo ito noong 1921 and later changed its name to South African Communist Party in 1953. Its founder is William H. Andrews. So, para saan yung Communist Party na yun? Ano yung goal nila? South African Communist Party's goal is to reduce and prevent the racial treatment between white and black Africans. Dito na rin nagkaroon ng tinatawag nilang Land Revolt. Ito ay yung rebellion which strikes the white miners in 1922. The large mining concerns facing labor shortages and wage pressures, engaging black in semi-skilled and some higher-level jobs and low-wage rates compared to their white counterparts who enjoyed monopoly and well-paying occupations. Then in 1928, the Communist International adopted resolution for South African Communist Party, which is Native Republic, kung saan ang sinasabi dun ay yung South Africa ay dapat para sa mga Native Africans or sa mga indigenous black people. And in 1929, they also adopted a strategic line which held that the most direct line of advance of socialism runs through the mass struggle for majority rule. Ang dami nilang inadapt na resolution para sa ikabubuti ng government at economy ng South Africa. Tsaka para din maiwasan yung racism between blacks and whites. In 1946, Communist Party of South Africa along with ANC participated general strike that was started by African mine workers, wherein many party members are arrested. In 1948, nagsimulang ipakilala ng National Party yung apartheid system. Apartheid system. Ano ba yon? It is the racial segregation. Kasi nga, maraming itim at puti yung nag-aaway sa kanilang dahi at etnisidad. Dito rin, yung time kung saan nag-decide yung SACP na i-dissolve yung system. After voluntary dissolution, it's declared illegal in 1950. In order to work legally, they joined ANC. ANC is the African National Congress. In 1953, former group of Communist Party of South Africa launched the South African Communist Party that remained South African Communist Party with alliance to Soviet Union. Nelson Mandela is known and argued allowing the Communist Party to join ANC and gather that all Africans should work together in opposition to apartheid. So, si Nelson Mandela kasi is anti-apartheid system siya. Mandela's period became more militant in his political views. With Sisulu, Mandela urged Sisulu to travel in Beijing to seek support on Chinese for the unarmed struggle. Diba ilang beses nang nakulong nun si Mandela? Noong 1990. Balis 27 years nakulong si Mandela. Nakilala din siya doon sa Defiance Campaign noong 1952. Yun yung bombing campaign laban sa government. Kung saan, noong 1962, nakulong ulit si Mandela. Eventually, internal pressures and internal ferment made even many strong supporters of apartheid recognized that change had to come along process of negotiations, which resulted in 1994 in the defeat of National Party after 46 years of ruling, with victory of a number of communist occupied positions of the ANC benches in parliament. Nelson Mandela appointed Joe Slovo as Minister of Housing. So yun na nga, si Nelson Mandela yung naging president ng ANC noon. Tapos, Joe Slovo recognized that socialism had failed in Europe and could not be regarded as a model for the South African Communist Party.
Good day everyone, my name is Ralph Arlina from BOPS 35. Today, I'm gonna report about communism in America. The Communist Party of United States of America, or CPUSA, is a communist party in United States established in 1919 after the split in the Socialist Party of America following the Russian Revolution. By August 1919, only months after its founding, the Communist Party claimed 50,000 to 60,000 members. Members also included anarchists and other radical leftists. At that time, the older and more moderate Socialist Party of America is suffering from criminal persecution for its anti-war stance during World War I, had declined to 40,000 members. During the Great Depression, and many Americans became delusional with capitalism, and some found communist ideology appealing. Others were attracted by visible activism of the communists on behalf of the wide range of social and economic causes, including the right of African American workers and unemployed. The Communist Party played significant role in the resurgence of organized labor in 1930s. The Communist Party early labor and organized successes didn't last long. As the decades progressed, the combined effect of Second Red Scare, McCarthyism, Nikita Khrushchev's 1956 secret speech denouncing the previous decades of Joseph Stalin's rule, and the adversities of the continued Cold War mentality steadily weakened the party's internal structure and confidence. Internal and external crises swelled together to the point where members of the who did not end up in prison for party activism tended either disappear quietly from its ranks or to adopt more moderate political position. At odds with the party line, by 1957, the members had dwindled to less than 10,000, of whom some 1,500 were informants for the FBI. The party was also banned by the Communist Control Act of 1954, still effective but not really used. The party attempted to recover its opposition to the Vietnam War during the civil rights movement in the 1960s, but its continued uncritical support for increasingly stultified and militaristic Soviet Union increasingly alienated it from the rest of the left wing in the United States, which saw the supportive role as outdated and even dangerous. At the same time, the party aging membership demographics called for peaceful coexistence failed to speak in the new left in the United States.
Hello, my name is Limolji Canales, and I'll be reporting to you is all about the communism in Asia. First, Vietnam. The communism in Vietnam was introduced by Ho Chi Minh between 1920s and 1930s, and this was led by their culture and Marxism-Leninism. Ho Chi Minh was also the Prime Minister of Vietnam of 1945 to 1955, and he also served as the President of Vietnam until his death in 1969. After his death, his ideology and thinking has been spread all over Vietnam and now considered as ideology called Ho Chi Minh thought. Ho Chi Minh thought are influenced by Marxism-Leninism but catered to be more suitable in Vietnam. And on 1991, Ho Chi Minh thought and Marxism-Leninism became the official ideology of the Communist Party of Vietnam and the state. For the next country, is Laos. The communism in Laos was also introduced by Ho Chi Minh in 1930, and Laos gained full independence as constitutional monarchy on October 22, 1953, until it was abolished on December 1975 when the last king of Laos, King Sabat, surrendered to Pathet Laos, who was a communist political party movement that in favor of being a Marxist-Leninist state and called it Lao People Democratic Republic. And now, going on to North Korea. North Korea was conquered by Japanese Empire on 1910 until 1945. When Japan surrendered and left the Korea was split into two, which is the South Korea occupied by the Americans and the North by the USSR. After being ruled by USSR for some years, North Korea have been influenced by it and declared war against the South Korea to create a unified communist state. This war started on 1950 and ended at 1953 after signing an armistice agreement. After losing their support, they gradually changed from Marxism-Leninism into their current ideology, which is Juche, which meant self-reliant. It is also derived from Marxism-Leninism but catered for their own country. Some people also said that North Korea was the last Stalinist country or state. And lastly, the China. The communism in China was founded on July 1, 1921, inspired the Russian Revolution. On October 1, 1949, Mao Zedong declared the creation of People's Republic of China. He is also one of the most famous figure of the communist figure in Cold War. During the rise of the Communist Party in China, Hu Yaobang, a former Communist Party leader, wants to reform the government into democratic, but sadly, he died. That caused the people to lead a protest in Tiananmen Square that met with Chinese soldiers who fired live rounds into the crowd that became a bloody history in China known as Tiananmen Square Massacre. Back to the topic, the communism in China kept changing from Marxism-Leninism to Maoism, socialism with Chinese characteristic. The reason why is because when Mao Zedong introduces the Marxism-Leninism in China, they have what you call ideology crisis, which is not suitable from their current situation. So, Mao Zedong creates new ideology which is called Maoism that is suitable for China. It is also inspired or derived to usual Marxism-Leninism. After his death, Deng Xiaoping led the China in its new height and improved the economy of the country by introducing the socialism with Chinese characteristic. You can call it socialism, but socialism is the very first stage or first phase of communism. Communism is a long process, and based on my research, it is the last stage of Marxism, and until now, there are no communist state that existed, but only a state that is on the process of being a communist state. And to be clear, Marxism is a political and economic theories of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, and become the basis for the theory and practice of communism, wherein the properties belong to the state itself and the elimination of the classes. And Leninism is the practical adaptation of Marxism for overthrowing the government, and its main focus is the process of subversion and transformation of the country into a communist society with force and violence if needed. Stalinism. It is the application of communism to the realities of ruling the communist country. It aims to create a centralized economy, powerful military, ubiquitous intelligence agencies, and almost totalitarian control over the citizens' action. The goal of Marxism-Leninism is the transformation of the capitalist state into one-party socialist communist state or a dictator of the proletariat. That is the Marxism-Leninism. It is the combination. It is created by Joseph Stalin. Which he synthesized the two ideologies, which is the Leninism created by Vladimir Lenin and the Marxism, which is introduced by Karl Marx. Then, the Maoism. Just like I said before, Maoism clearly created to be suitable in the current situation of China in revolution. So Maoism has clearly represented a revolutionary method based on the distinct revolutionary outlook derived from Marxist-Leninist context catered for China itself, I mean. Then, after Mao Zedong's death, the Maoist people, or the support of the Maoism, created what you call Marxism-Leninism Maoism. It is the combination of the three ideologies. We can say that this ideology is a higher version of Maoism. It is an ideology combination of Marxism-Leninism and Maoism, created by the Maoists as the higher version of Marxism-Leninism. And for Maoism, are only derived for the revolutionary method, but the Marxism-Leninism is applicable for all. It is universally applicable, and it is created after the death of Mao Zedong. And socialism. Socialism is based on the idea of equality and justice. It doesn't promote a global proletarian revolution like in Marxism, nor it does seeks to overthrow the establishment. Uh, just like with Marxism and Leninism, what we know as the communism, they overthrow the government and create a classless state. But here in socialism, its proponent usually gain power through peaceful means. But in communism, or what we call Marxism-Leninism, it uses force and violence if needed. Then, back to North Korea, their ideology, which is Juche, which means a self-reliance, it is the core idea that North Korea is a country that must remain separate and distinct from the other world. From the other world. And dependent solely on its own strength and the guidance of mere godlike leader, like their current leader. Then, as last, the communism. Communism is a political theory derived from Karl Marx that advocate class wars and leading the society which all the property are publicly owned and each person work and is paid according to their abilities. And from Marxism, it will be going to socialism, to capitalism, and ending at the communism. That is the process of communism. It's a long way process. It is a long way process that until now, there are no communist state that existed, but only a state on the process of being a communist state.